This is Activity 1-3 on page 17, Consolidating Data. We have the workbooks Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 sales open, and we'll also be working with an additional workbook in this activity titled Consolidate. You were able to total the quarterly sales, and you now want to summarize the quantities sold from each of the quarters. You decide to consolidate the quarterly quantities sold to the consolidation workbook. So we're going to start by opening the Consolidate workbook. I'm going to go up to File, Open. I can select my Folders tab to the right and go to my current folder, Working with Multiple Worksheets and Workbooks. And the workbook file that we want is Consolidate. Select that and click Open. We're going to do a Save As, File, Save As, save to our current folder, Working with Multiple Worksheets and Workbooks, and we're going to update our file name to My Consolidate. Number 2, examine the quarterly sales files, noting that the product column contains the same products but not in the same order. So I had you take note of that in a previous activity. So if we go to the quarter 1 sales workbook, you can see we have the same columns, but our product numbers are in a different order. So in Q1 sales, it starts with 4269. In Q2, I'm going to have to maximize this. We start with 4495. In Q3, we start with 3551. And in quarter 4, we start with 2030. So even though they're all set up with the same columns, they are in a different order. So we wouldn't be able to use a 3D reference to total these out. So we're going to consolidate the data for these. I'm going to go back to my Consolidate workbook. And number 3, we're going to consolidate the quantity of products sold from each of the quarterly sales files. I'm going to select the range of B3 through C23. So that's the product and quantity columns. I'm going to go up to the Data tab on my ribbon, and in my Data Tools command group, I'm going to select Consolidate to open up my dialog box. In the dialog box, we want to make sure that the sum function is selected. I'm going to put my cursor in my reference field. And I want to go to my Q1 sales workbook. Always, when you're doing your consolidation and you're switching workbooks, double check on your title bar to make sure that the correct one is at the forefront, because sometimes you'll select it and it won't bring it to the front for some reason. For instance, in step 3E, it tells you to use the switch windows command, and I have had an issue with that in the past where I switch the window to the Q1 sales, but it doesn't bring me to the correct workbook. So always double check with that. I prefer to use my taskbar to switch workbooks, but if you want to use that switch windows command from the view tab on your ribbon, just double check that it is taking you to the correct workbook. All right, from here we're going to select the range A1 through B21. So again, that's the product and the quantity columns. Don't include that total. All right, with that range selected, we're going to click on our Add button, and it adds that to the All References list for us. And number 4, we're going to add the references for the remaining quarters. I'm going to switch over to my Q2 sales workbook, select the range A1 through B21 again, add that to my references list. Oh, see what I mean? I tried to add that. I thought I switched to the Q2 sales, but I'm still on Q1. So let's try that again. Q2. And look, it's not bringing me over. Let me minimize Q1. And here, okay, now I have Q2 sales. A1 through B21. Add that to my references list. Then I'm going to switch over to Q3. And look at that. I'm still on Q2. Let me minimize that. So that's why this is a perfect example of why I say always double check that it brings you to the correct workbook. All right, A1 through B21. Add that. And then lastly, Q4. And select the range A1 through B21 and add that. So just double check for your all references list. You have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 sales with the ranges A1 through B21 on all of them. Number 5, create links to source data and complete the consolidation. Down at the bottom in the Use Labels In section, we want to match the top row, the left column, and we also want to create links to source data. And from here, we're going to click OK. Now it brings us back to the My Consolidate workbook. And you can see that my product column needs expanding because the numbers were too wide for that column. And you can see that the quantities for each product from all of the workbooks have now been consolidated. So it took product 4489 from each of the sales workbooks, added them together to give me my quantity. Okay, it looked for each product number and then it totaled them out. Number 6, view the details of the consolidated data. In our outline pane to the left, we're going to select the number 2 heading to expand the outline, and it's going to show our details. So what it did for product 4489, it went to the Q1 sales workbook. That had a quantity of 20. Q2 sales had a quantity of 19. Q3 sales had a quantity of 14, and Q4 sales had a quantity of 5. Again, these are all for product 4489. It summed those together, which broke it down to a total of 58 products for 4489. All right, we can go up to our quick access toolbar and save our updates, and we can close out of all of our open files. So that should be 5 of them. And then you can exit out of Excel completely, as this is the last activity of lesson 1.